Welcome to the Poisoner's Cabinet. I'm Sinead.
And I'm Nick.
And this is your weekly podcast exploring the lives of the great poisoners, macabre murders, and captivating crimes from across the centuries, and creating curious cocktails inspired by the tales that we tell. And it's episode 219.
My God, we're getting through them.
We are. How are you, Nick?
I'm fine.
You good?
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, much the same as I was 2 days ago when we recorded the last one.
Well, this is a little behind-the-scenes information for you. While this episode is coming out at the normal time, and if you're listening to this non-consecutively, or if you're listening to this in the future, none of this makes any difference. But we're recording this in advance because I'm on holiday on the day that this episode airs.
Slacker.
Yeah. I'll be getting content in Lisbon. Probably.
Probably.
I'll always look for murder stories while I'm out there.
There is a good Portuguese one, actually.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, there's a good Portuguese one. There's not much on it, but there's a man whose head is in a jar.
Oh, nice. Okay, well, I will go
So
and
look into
investigate that.
Go and investigate that. You maybe say the head in a jar.
Oh, lovely. So I can put this travel as business expense?
No.
No, fine. Okay, I knew I was
If
pushing
you
it
get
there.
the head, you can bring the head back. That's fine.
But Nick and I are recording this in advance. It was a lovely afternoon at the weekend. We've had an espresso martini. We're ready to go.
We're raring for it.
But you're well. Everyone's fine. Everyone's all right.
Everyone's all right.
Everyone's just pepped up on caffeine.
There is that.
Any poisonings this week?
No.
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 No,
We're
not
good,
so
we're
far.
Good, we're good.
The town, the city of Canterbury has been poisoned, or maybe blessed, by Morris men today.
Yes, there was much jingling as I was going around the place.
It is the hop hoodening.
The
Blessing of the hops for the season.
I was lying in the barber's chair, and there was I can hear a jingle. There's a hop man near. There's a Morris approaching.
Why were you lying in the barber's chair?
Because I was leaning backwards and having my beard done.
Oh, you're having a beard done?
Yes.
I thought you were about to be killed by Sweeney Todd.
It is very Sweeney Todd-esque,
It is.
especially when she looms over you with a cutthroat razor. But I survived.
She was just leaning over you with a coffee in this occasion.
No, it was a cutthroat razor.
Really? Do you get like a cutthroat shave?
Oh, I do it on the cheeks.
On the cheeks? Yeah. Oh, it looks very nice. You look very pristine today. Don't we both look wonderful?
Aren't we marvellous?
We're marvellous. We're gorgeous. Well, speaking of looking absolutely marvellous and people looming over us with razors, I think it's time for us to thank our delicious Patreon subscribers. Now, because we are recording this episode in advance, we haven't caught up with our Patreons, so you will all be named next week. We promise we will get to you. Apologies if you've been sitting on the edge of your seat going, it's me this week. But thank you to all of our Patreon subscribers. Everyone, our arsenic aficionados, our cyanide connoisseurs, people who linger, even the free ones as well. There is free content on there if you just want to dip your toe into Patreon. We love you and we appreciate you so much because you make the Poisoner's Cabinet even better.
Even more poisony.
Even more. You add that little hint of poison. Of course, we love all of our fans. Our listeners are the reason that we do this. The Patreons enable this to continue. If you would like to know what Patreon is all about, do consider going over to patreon.com/The Poisoner's Cabinet, where you will find out about this extra channel where you can support the podcast. We do extra episodes every single week. We also have more bonus material for different tiers. So monthly episodes, behind the scenes chat, gift packs, our book club. There's videos on there. There is a huge amount of extra content
going on
from the Poisoner's Cabinet over on Patreon. And being on Patreon means you can support us doing what we do. We are independent. It's just us.
Yes.
And you'll keep us in liquor.
Indeed.
And dick jokes.
Yes.
And also next week, we have a very special Patreon episode coming up with a special guest who is very popular with the Poisoner's Cabinet fans, or will be revealed
more popular
next
than
week.
us sometimes.
Yeah, you know what? You all need to calm down about this guest. Because every time they appear on Patreon, everyone loses their shit. Everyone's like, where can we find out more about them? Where can we subscribe? We were here first. All right? We are the... It's fine.
We're not all jealous.
Not at all. Not at all bitter. Not at all. You will send us messages and we will decide if they are passed on to him. Them. It. Well, Nick, are you ready?
Oh, God, yes.
To drink cocktails and talk about poison.
Let's do it.
Or we can drink poison and talk about cocktails.
Let's do that as well.
Okay, should we go with the first one?
Okay.
Hooray. It is my story this week, but we can't possibly have a story without a cocktail in hand. As you know, dear listeners, every week we choose a secret ingredient that is inspired by the tale that we tell, and it will flavour our cocktail of the week. So, Nick, this week's secret ingredient is... A baby.
A baby.
And some people have already gone, oh God, no.
Yes, no idea where this episode is going.
Well,
It's terrifyingly horrible places.
there are some people who on Patreon were making suggestions and guesses,
Right.
and I have listened to them, and I have decided to do this episode
okay.
Everyone else is innocently going, "Oh, baby, lovely. Is the
Lovely.
baby okay?"
Lovely, lovely little baby.
Yes.
Lovely baby.
Sure.
Oh no.
But with a baby,
Yes.
babies on spikes.
Babies on spikes.
Babies on.
If only there were a cocktail called Babies,
Babies
on
on
Spikes.
spikes. You can make one
I
up.
should make one. Babies on Spikes.
But with a baby as your inspiration or ingredient. What's happened in the Poisonous Cabinet kitchen?
This week we're going to have a cry baby.
A cry baby. Oh, that's
Because
good.
he's on a spike.
He's on babies on spikes. They
Babies
do
on
cry.
spikes. Yes, I'm having a cry baby.
Oh, I like it. Intriguing. Okay, fair enough. Well, I think we should walk very slowly, very quietly, because there's a baby in there, into the Poisonous Cabinet kitchen and shake up a storm. So we'll see you in a minute.
We'll see you in a bit.
And we're back.
Hello.
So, Nick, do we have a crybaby?
No, that didn't quite go to plan.
It all kind of fell apart in the break. What happened?
As actually 2 ingredients I thought I had, I didn't have, which I was convinced were in various cupboards, and were not.
Okay, well, tell us about what was missing later.
Yes.
But
So I've made a variation on a theme.
okay,
So I've substituted various bits and pieces. So I'm going to rename this.
Okay.
I'm going to rename it Babies on Spikes.
okay, good, right.
This is my own version of the crybaby, and they're crying because they're on spikes.
They are on spikes. Okay. Again, we must reiterate, this is an Eddie Izzard reference.
Yes, indeed.
We don't think that that's a good idea.
Don't put babies on spikes.
Don't put babies on spikes. Don't do that. Okay, good. I'm frightened now. So you've just made stuff happen in a glass.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's a structure behind it,
Nice.
but I have
I trust you.
Use some alternative ingredients.
You have a good palate.
So we shall see.
All right. Well, let's dive into the babies on spikes.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Ooh, that's very pleasant.
That's not half bad.
Good. It's spirit forward.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, that's good. I like that. It is spirit forward. It's hello, the evening started. Okay.
Oh, I'm liking that.
Yeah, no, that's good. No, that's good. So that's I have to guess now, don't I?
Yes, it's got things in
Is
it.
it whiskey?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so what kind of whiskey? Is it a bourbon?
There is a bourbon in there.
So there's more than one.
There's a bourbon in there.
There's a bourbon.
There's a bourbon.
There's something.
Yes, there is also something.
It's not spicy, but herbally, maybe?
Yeah.
Herbally? Am I herbal?
You're in the right sort of neck of the woods.
All right, but not flowery.
No, I wouldn't say flowery.
No flowery.
No
but,
flowery.
But there's herbs that don't flower. Maybe.
I'm not too sure. My botany is not that good.
Okay. Is there drambuie in this?
There's not.
But I was thinking of that honey kind of.
Yeah, you're in the right ballpark.
Benedictine?
Benedictine.
Hey! Yay! Okay. So bourbon Benedictine.
Yep.
What a lovely start.
Lovely stuff.
What else is in there? Is there sugar syrup?
There's a wee splash.
Wee splash. I've got a sweetness behind it, but it's not too much. How many more?
2 other things.
Oh, second sip. Hang on. Yeah. It's tasty. A vermouth.
Nope.
So fruity.
Nah. Yes.
Was it
Yes.
like a
yes.
fruit
No. Yeah.
that's
No.
a
yes.
fruit that lies?
No. That's. Yeah. No. Yes. Fruity.
Fruit, well, like a tomato or something.
Yes. So there's tomato in there.
So fruity. What? Orange.
No.
Pear. Peach.
Yes.
Pear.
Pear.
Oh, I was lying there.
I know you were.
Oh, like the Poire William.
The William.
Ooh, deliciousness. Okay. I can't taste it, clearly, but I mean, yummy. And then one more thing.
One more thing. One more big thing. And you said it right at the beginning.
Whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like an Irish whiskey or a Scotch?
An Irish whiskey.
Oh, sorry, I was thrown because I thought you would it's only bourbon.
No.
I was like, oh no, I didn't know
Irish
it was a whiskey.
And a bourbon.
Delicious. Oh, yeah, that harks back to the kind of, what is it, like the mean fiddlers sort of
yes,
sort of stuff. Yeah, I don't know if that's right, those ones I've mentioned. But two kinds of whiskey. Jesus.
Aye, indeed.
Yeah, I'll be on my ass soon.
There's some lovely whiskey barrel-aged bitters in there as well.
Yes, it's got the barrel-aginess coming through. Oh, that is very pleasant.
Yeah, that's nice. I'm liking that.
Spirit forward, people.
Yeah.
So what was the variation? What was supposed to happen?
So what was supposed to happen, it was supposed to be Calvados.
Ah.
It was supposed to be Calvados, and I thought I had some and I didn't. So I exchanged that for the pear. Well, apples and pears.
Apples and pears.
Apples and pears.
Very nice.
Sort of very similar indeed.
Okay.
And one other thing is meant to have a turmeric bitters.
Turmeric bitters.
Turmeric bitters. Now I've never heard of
I always say turmeric.
turmeric, however you prefer. But it's meant to have
It's like
those
corn. Yeah.
bitters in there, which I did not have those. I've never had those bitters, but I thought
No.
I was reading some people just put like a pinch of ground turmeric
Yeah.
in, and I thought I had some of that in the cupboard, and apparently I didn't.
No, right. Oh, you should have asked me. I'm up to my neck in turmeric.
So yeah, those are the two things that are missing. So I exchanged the Calvados for the pear and the turmeric for the whiskey barreled.
Yes, that
Barrel-aged
sounds.
bitters.
Oh, that sounds perfect. Yeah,
So I thought
yeah.
those make a good substitutions.
I am really intrigued though by the turmeric bitters.
Indeed, no, I'd never heard about it before, and I was looking, and there seems to be one company that makes them,
Wow.
and they make a turmeric, and it's got like a curry leaf and various sort
It
of
would make it
spices and things.
Very earthy.
Incredibly earthy.
And very good for inflammation.
That's what they say, indeed.
It is. I take a turmeric
but it's
tablet.
one of the ones I can't get it on Amazon, and it's something I'd have to
No.
import from the States and things. And
Oh.
I thought for possibly maybe one cocktail,
cocktail.
it was proving a bit pricey.
Hey,
So I
add
didn't.
it to a curry.
So it could go delightfully well in a curry, indeed.
Well, maybe we should make some. Well, that's what we
so-
branch out into. Nick's range of bitters.
Yeah, well, indeed, you never know.
Oh, what a roaring
But
success.
yeah, no, I'm pleased with how that turned out.
Well, it would have been lovely to have the Calvados,
Yep,
but Poire William and a bit of everything else.
and a bit of other stuff.
Deliciousness.
Worked quite nicely.
Wonderful. The baby's on spikes.
Baby's on
Woohoo! Horrifying name.
It's a horrifying thought.
Delicious
It's a
drink.
delicious drink.
Well, wonderful. Well, with the babies on spikes in hand, you got a spike in each hand. Are you ready for a story, Nick?
Go on then.
Yes. So this week's story. Now, I decided to do something a bit different, but a very famous story, like one that many people know, that was requested on Patreon.
Okay.
Fair warning, folks. This story is going to get gross
Okay.
in places.
Nice.
I'm never sure of people's threshold, but this is a well-known story. People have covered it before, but it's gross not in a horrible, horrible crime way where we'd go, ugh, no, this is just depressing. This is going to be ew in places. So brace
Right.
yourself.
Okay. Fair warning.
When you hear the name of the person we're going to talk about, you may decide, nope, this is not for me, or the rest of you will be pulling up a chair like, I cannot wait for it. But
I'm intrigued.
there we are. It is disgusting in parts, but that's the Poisonous Cabinet all over, really.
Disgusting in parts.
We are going to make light of a very bizarre story here. Lots of fun stuff. So come with me now, Nick. Come with me now. Come with me now. And we're going to go to France.
Okay.
Going to go to France. Maybe a small cafe. Maybe we'll sit and have some cheese and maybe a drink or two.
Okay.
But actually, that's not going to be good enough at all. Let's go to a massive industrial-sized kitchen,
Okay.
the equivalent of which, and meet Tarrare.
Okay.
Do you know who that is?
No.
You don't know
But I
this
know
name?
I've seen this name mentioned on Patreon, and I haven't looked into it, and I'm not familiar. So I'm assuming some sort of, from your vibes, I'm assuming some sort of Sweeney Todd-esque kitchen, babies and pies type affair.
No, not
Okay.
quite. Not
Right.
quite. But you're in the right. You're in the right area.
Okay.
You're in the right hotel. Maybe. Tarrare. So his name, actually, his pronunciation, I was sort of battling back, and I was literally texting my brother-in-law, who's half French, to get the actual pronunciation as well. So some people say Tarrare, some people say Tarrare. There's a very subtle difference there. There's not a lot of accents over it. But this is a story of a man of huge appetites, Nick.
Right.
So big and so bizarre, he would literally baffle the world.
With his one last wafer of thin mint.
His one last wafer
Wafer
thin mint. There are other stories exist in the world of people with big appetites, but he is the one we're going to focus on, and he has so many legends and how many interesting stories, often written in one line, but there are great resources out there that were written of the time that have been examined later, and I dug into them and thought, you know what, yes, let's do this, because it's batshit and fun. And if the legends are to be believed, Tarrare did commit a terrible, terrible crime. But was he responsible for his own actions?
Oh.
So, Tarrare, I may call him T at points, or Terrar, or anything. If the accent goes
Bob.
at any point, I'm sorry.
Terry.
Tarrare was born around 1772 in Lyon. We think, because not much is known about his childhood. Not much is known about his background really at all that could be stood up. As his childhood, there's a few snatched stories about him. We don't even know if his name
Okay.
is actually Tarrare. whether he was born with this name, whether it was a nickname, whether it would be a stage name for him later on. And I did try and dig into actually what Tarrare is in French.
Does it mean anything?
I looked it up, and again, that's why I texted my brother-in-law and asked his opinion on it. If I said, have you seen this? And he just went, well, it's this person. And I said, does it come from this particular word? He couldn't think of one in particular. There was an expression in France around this time, bonbon Tarrare, which means explosion.
Okay.
Which was apparently shouted, bonbon Tarrare. But I tried to find the background of that, and it is intrinsically linked with his name, so I couldn't really drill down. Might just be more folklorish thing. When I was actually looking, Tarrare as well is apparently a version of a translation of winnower in English. And a winnower is someone who separates the wheat from the chaff. So that could be quite cool. Is the person distinctive? Is you separate the wheat from the chaff, or literally you're eating the wheat from the chaff? Maybe.
Okay.
But there you go. I tried to look into it, but it may just be that was his name. But it's unlikely he was from a wealthy family.
Yes.
But he is a little baby skinny lad. But from birth, he would remain skinny for the rest of his life. Now, keep this in mind. Don't be picturing a big old fella, very, very skinny chap. But he was born with a big, big appetite. Tarrare loved to eat. Well, loved is not the right word. Needed to eat. It soon emerged through his childhood and into his teens how voracious his appetite was. Not just a strapping lad who just needs a big old breakfast and can probably eat a few more loaves of bread than you. No. In his teens, he could eat his own body weight in food every single day.
That's impressive.
And was still asking for seconds. And as I said, he's skinny. He's rake thin, but he needs to eat his own body weight and more. Apparently, he was able to open his mouth so wide as to devour his food. People even said he could unhinge his jaw. He had naturally this massive jaw and massive mouth to fit more nibbles in. His family do their best to feed him because he's sort of like, and have some porridge. Okay, have 9 more porridges.
Yes.
Okay,
You've eaten all the porridge.
Porridge isn't doing it for you. All right. By the time he's a teenager, he's eating half a cow. It's not a particularly lavish time for the French as well in the 1770s. They're like, what are we going to do with
That was
this
meant to
child?
last us all winter.
Oh my God. Okay, you've eaten all the food in the cupboard, the special biscuits for Christmas. You
Oh,
got into
no,
the Christmas
you've got
cupboard.
into that cupboard.
And the cupboard, to be fair, you've eaten that too. The parents who have had to feed him a cow a week essentially go, fuck this.
Yeah.
Sorry, we know you're our son, but we're poor.
But also
and
no.
This is an inconvenience. And they kick him out. They kick him out of the house because it's just impossible to keep him. This is too much. And it's a bizarre and very sad situation for the young lad. He's a teenager and he's nowhere to go. And he's hungry. He's hungry all the time, and not like the other urchins on the street where they're just like a crust of bread will sustain him. He's just constantly this apparent desperate hunger. He now has no home, no money, and a constantly grumbling stomach. So he sets out into the world, but his any chances of a normal life are seemingly none because he can't really focus on anything else other than getting food into his belly. If you're constantly hungry and you're never full, that's going to completely dominate your life. So he has no choice but to start begging, eating whatever he can find from the streets, and he will eat anything, and take support wherever he can. And it was said he soon began falling in with thieves. Yes, he needs to survive out on the streets. He can't do it by honest means.
No.
And he is picked up by these people. It's reported about him time and time again that he fell in with a roaming band of thieves and prostitutes.
Well, thieves are damn tasty.
Like they're buttery good, yes.
Exactly.
But I like the roaming band of them. Like they're marching across the land. We're gonna shag you. If you have money, please. There was another report, and it said, it was written at the time, it said he was hired in the capacity of clown to an itinerant quack. So really he sort of joins what is made out to be a sort of travelling band.
It sounds like a bit like a circus. Sort of
circus. Everyone's dancing around the word freak show here because that's not okay. But they're all like, that's definitely what it was.
What it is.
A bunch of reprobates who are travelling the land, pushing people about, eating their shoes. He presents himself.
Shagging them on opportunity.
Exactly, money. He presents himself as a travelling show. And apparently he was the warm-up act with a charlatan, so a con artist and someone who was doing tricks and everything. People of curious backgrounds. He would then go on stage and just eat anything that people gave him. And all the while, the thieves are going around the crowds picking pockets. So from his perspective, he's been picked up by these people. They're like, wow, that is a talent.
Well, it's going to be a distraction, isn't it?
Absolutely. You can't take your eyes
yeah,
off
absolutely. This man's eating a bicycle and or whatever. It's just like, eat this. It's a stick. Eat it.
Eat it. And he's like, but then the thieves are picking pockets and they can like hand out money. It's a living for him. He's a huge draw. He would swallow apparently corks, stones, whatever people had in their pockets, chuck it up there, and he's like, oh, okay, fine. And we're gonna have to address this. He would eat live animals.
Okay.
Animal lovers, this is not gonna get.
This
pretty.
is not the story for you.
It's not the story for you. Very fond of snake meat. Apparently, he really liked snake meat. There was lots of snakes around.
There's a lot of snakes in France.
Well, no, there are snakes. There's adders and vipers and things like that.
Yes, but the same as there are in. Yes, but not
a little bit more prevalent.
More prevalent. Okay.
A little bit more. I don't know.
Okay.
What is it? St. Patrick hadn't chased them all over the channel.
Yes, exactly. They've all left Ireland. Then they went to France.
Tarrare unhinged his jaw, waiting for them. Come on. Yes, a slithering snake disappearing into his mouth. I mean, that's an incredible draw. He apparently once tipped an entire basket of apples into his huge mouth and just swallowed them. He didn't always chew. His gullet, he could open his gullet. You know, people always said that, like, oh, with pints. Well, he'd do that with a bushel, basically. Tip this whole basket of apples into his mouth, barely chew it, gone. And he was fine. So Tarrare is really something of a sight. And aside from the eating, he looks not great, you know.
Right, okay.
As I said, he's about 17 when he's off on the road, and he's 7 stone. He's 7 stone.
I mean, that's tiny.
Tiny. And he wouldn't apparently get much above this weight for the rest of his life. 7 stone, just over.
There's obviously something deeply medically wrong with this man.
People sort of did pictures of Tarrare later as this huge, bombastic kind of like, no.
Tiny slip of a man.
Skinny.
Eating all this stuff.
So skinny man eating all of this.
Shitting all over the place.
Oh, Nick, we'll come to the shitting.
Oh, God, okay.
Huge, wide mouth. But he's tiny man. Huge mouth. Very thin lips. Not much in the way of lips.
Okay.
And stained teeth because he's just decimating everything. Broken teeth as well. Yeah. Apparently lovely soft hair.
Oh, well, that's the main thing.
That's the nice thing. So you must picture him as it was. And also, if he's so skinny and he's eating all of this stuff, what is obviously happening to him is that his stomach can distend fully, and it was said to be like a balloon. So he is eating all of this stuff, stuffing things into him, and his stomach just distends. And when he's not full, his skin just hangs about him and flaps.
Yes, it's going to be very flappy, isn't it?
Very flappy stomach that apparently he could stretch it out and wrap it around his own waist.
Well, it's like people, very overweight people who have then lost a lot of weight suddenly. So you have that huge flaps of skin because the skin doesn't contract again.
It doesn't, but then just for him, he's not overweight. He's not constantly full.
But obviously his stomach his skin is just stretched that much when he is eating, and it just doesn't go back.
It doesn't, and his cheeks are the same. His cheeks are all flappy because he's got this huge jaw. He can hold apparently food in his cheeks.
It's
like
the human hamster.
Yeah, exactly that. And people say that a bit like a chipmunk or a hamster or something. And then his skin's a bit flappy, and these wide eyes and lipless mouth. And people are going, Jesus.
Yeah, that's a look, isn't it? My God.
Yeah, saggy look. And then Nick, there's the smell.
Okay. He
runs pretty hot as a person.
Okay.
Yeah, very high body temperature, which just exudes a lot of body odour. Yeah, I mean, he is existing on corks and pig legs and, live rats and pets that he will just eat. And, yeah, it's creating a very pungent odour because he's eating such crap and viscera and just live animals.
It's going to be a lot of wind, one would imagine.
Windy, yes, gassy.
Potent.
Sweating all the time. Sweating, and it's just leaving his odour. It was just so strong, apparently, his odour, that he could not be endured within the distance of 20 paces.
Oh, God.
That's a long way away.
No,
that is standing in your bedroom going, don't come here.
Yes.
No.
That is a wide miasma going on around.
Not only that, when he's not gorging and he's just walking around, literal vapours, just stink lines, follow him. He's emitting gases and just grossness. And he looks like he's in a stupor when he's eating. And just smelling, and it's very weird expression.
Yeah, well, I suppose he's got all this sort of loose skin and stuff like that, and I imagine he's not bathing or showering daily, so he's going to get sweaty, and there's foldy, flappy bits that are going to get ripe and pungent. Yes, it's not going to be a pleasant sight.
And whatever's happening inside of him.
Yeah.
His metabolism, whatever is happening, is running at such a pace to digest this food at an unbelievable pace measure, whatever it is. Then yes, his body is just constantly hot, and he's just stinking and hot and sweaty. It's just upsetting.
There must be some things that are just not digestible.
You would think.
Yeah.
Well, he passes those.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
They just come straight out of him.
Just come straight out.
They come straight out of him.
If you eat a live thing, at some point it's going to die. But-
Usually when he's tearing into it.
Right, so he's not eating these things whole.
There were some things apparently that he would swallow whole, like
Right.
he would swallow live like a mouse or something like that. Like his gullet was so hard, the snakes and
Yes.
things. But there are stories I'll come on to. It's
good.
not nice. But yeah, he would eat the stuff and then he would regurgitate feathers, fur, whatever else. Anything he couldn't digest, he would pass. Doctors made a point, the diarrhea was fetid beyond all conception.
Yeah, I can well imagine.
Yeah, he had that a lot. No one wants to be the cleaner going into the toilet after him.
Happy
It's
Friday,
just but his mind's supposedly fine.
I'm not so
Because,
sure about that.
well, it's doctors, again, people examine him who knew him over the years. And again, the reports of this are light, but certainly the medical examinations of that would happen later. Don't make a huge point that he is, as they would have put at the time, an imbecile.
No.
That he was deficient in his mental capacity. He was fine. He just was...
Just like a snack.
Yeah, exactly. He was quite sane, but with a complete lack of force and ideas.
Okay.
Because what else does he need to do aside from eat?
Just eat.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do.
I get the same when I'm hungry. It's
Well,
just,
that's the thing, yeah. So if that's your main just driver, you are just constantly starving.
yeah.
Then, that's all you're going to think about is where is my next meal coming from? What can I eat?
Yeah.
That's probably the only thing that you will ever think about.
And imagine that, imagine that today. Imagine that in the most affluent possible family, even then in France, you are still rationed. You still do not have access to everything because it's a shit time, basically, in France. I mean, everyone
But what
would be
about all the
thinking
cake?
about... all the brioche.
Oh, the brioche.
Marie Antoinette says apparently plenty of brioche.
Exactly.
She didn't say that. But yeah, you're thinking, poor people are thinking, when's our next meal coming? Tarrare turns up and they're like, shit. He's traveling the country as an attraction. He ends up in Paris as a street performer. And one book, The Anomalies and Curiosities of Medicine, described how, and brace yourself again, pet lovers, sorry, and I say this as a pet lover, he would once, it was reported, this famous site, he seized a live cat with his teeth, tore into it, sucked its blood and ate it, leaving the bare skeleton only. In about 30 minutes, he rejected the hairs in the manner of birds of prey and carnivorous animals.
Right.
He also ate dogs in the same manner.
Oh, nice.
Just the desperation for food. He is now snatching animals off the street. Later, a doctor who treated him would talk about how dogs and cats ran from him.
That could have been due to the smell, I feel.
Like, you have a crazy look in your eye, my friend.
Yes.
On one occasion, it was said he swallowed a live eel without chewing it, but he had first bitten off its head.
Okay, so it's going to be
Done
dead.
his prep work.
Yeah.
And then slithered down. It does. It's all very strange and very, very gross.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
And
Yeah.
unfortunate for him as well. We don't know. He may have been a bastard about it. I mean, we're assuming that he is driven just by this his biological need to
desperation,
eat.
yes.
He might have loved eating cats.
Well, that's true. He might have gone, I can't wait to kill all the things.
Well, I don't think he was asking the owners. By the way, may I?
I think they're probably quite wild. Many cats wild running around the place.
It's in Paris that he needs medical attention after eating something that finally does not sit well with him at all.
That's impressive.
We don't know what it was. Probably chartreuse, the greatest poison of them all. Took one sip of that.
One sip and was like,
No. Oh, my God. He had an intestinal obstruction and was taken to the Hôtel Dieu Paris, and he was seen by a Mr. Giraud, the in-house doctor of the hotel. And the doctor's like, shit. Literally. Because he gives him very, very strong laxatives. And it works. He passes whatever was obstructing him. In that hotel is probably now sealed off. And I assume they move buildings to have the next conversation after what Tarrare is like. And Tarrare rocks up and is like, I'm fine.
Yeah,
The
all is
laxatives
well now.
absolutely did it. I'm so fine. I'm cleared out nicely. He offers to swallow the doctor's pocket watch and chain to demonstrate that he's fine again. And the doctor apparently, I just love this. The doctor's just like, if you do this, I will rip your stomach open and
Yes.
get my watch
No,
back.
that was my grandfather's
Yeah,
watch.
exactly.
I'd rather you didn't.
He's so pointed that the doctor was having none of his stuff.
Absolutely. Don't eat my shit.
No,
I like
exactly.
my stuff.
I'll eat your watch. He was like, I will cut you
Yeah,
open, bitch. Right? You're not paying me. So the doctor's like holding all of his stuff. The hotel are like battening down their hatches like Christ, burning it as well, a portion of it. But Tarrare is back on the streets. But he reckons, you know what, this life on the streets is no good. Ain't for me. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to join the army.
Oh.
The French Revolutionary Army.
Well,
Ooh.
3 square meals a day.
3 square meals a day.
All the gunpowder you
accommodation.
can eat.
Absolutely. Lots of people. They've sometimes got animals. They're birds.
Yes.
They end up homing pigeons.
Or the Englishman you can eat.
Why not? He goes off to join the troops as they're building up to, well, they are at war with Prussia. There's many rumblings in Prussia about the
lots of rumblings in
sausages. Obviously, with the Revolutionary Army, they need all the men they can get. And he turns up, and he's not overweight. He's skinny, but people are like, shit, you don't look well, mate, but okay. We may have been on the front line of war for 4 weeks, but you smell. But he's there. How well he goes down within the troops is not really reported on. But no sooner is he in the army that he's starving again. Because rations.
Yeah.
Rations as in, you know, they have 3 square meals a day, ish,
But
at
they're not,
the
they're
time.
not, they're not generous.
Yeah, it would be a step up for most poor people who had gone into the army like, my God, some lovely provisions. Tarrare is like, no, can't cope. He is stealing rations from other people. He's stealing all the food he can get. Obviously, he doesn't actually want to annoy his comrades. It's not written about that he is annoying anyone and that he's kicked out of the army because he's stealing from his comrades. Like, you know, if any scraps are left over, he will eat them. He's scavenging. While he's in the troops, he is scavenging the rubbish heaps around the camps, anything he can eat. He's not the picture of health. He's not the strongest man. He ends up being admitted to hospital for extreme exhaustion. So he's in his ward, and the doctors who see him, like, Christ, at first they try him out on 4 times the normal rations. Like, okay, still hungry. He regains his strength, but he is soon found wandering around the hospital hunting for scraps in the bins, in the gutters outside. If the patients don't finish their food, he is standing there waiting to jump in, moving around probably in a white coat, no doubt, and going, you've got a broken arm, no cake for you. Okay, it's mine now. Apparently broke into the apothecary's office and ate the poultices.
Oh, God.
And those aren't going to be nice.
No, they ain't going to be tasted.
But there's something that he can eat. The doctors who treat them, you've got Doctors Corville and Percy. Percy, I believe, is a baron, actually. And they are baffled by Tarrare. Like, there's people trying to treat him. And then you've got the day-to-day nurses and everything trying to feed him. But these 2 doctors are like, this is a medical marvel. This is fascinating. He needs to stay at the hospital. We're going to run tests on him. And by tests, I mean, let's see how much we can make this man eat.
Good test.
Yeah.
For science.
And this setup, I love this setup because what went into their minds here, the doctors are aware there are 15 labourers on site around the hospital working and a meal had been laid out for them on a table. They had laid out this big feast, the food for all the labourers. And Tarrare had to be confined to his quarters because to stop him
Stop him eating it all.
stealing other people's foods out of desperation, roaming around and stuff like that. And they just don't restrain him on this day. And they go on. And he goes out and sees this table laid out like in a fairy tale, eyes wide, like all of this food. And he eats all of the food intended for 15 hardworking labourers. He sneaks up, eats 2 massive pies, plates of grease and salt,
Tasty.
4 gallons of milk, even more water. Then he lies down and has a little sleep.
Nice. Well, you would after that.
Yeah, exactly.
You need a nap.
It's all good. And the daughters are just like, fascinating. Right,
The labourers arrive and go, my lunch.
men, we worked hard to build this children's hospital.
We've deserved this.
We weren't paid in money, but they've laid on the most lovely feet. What the fuck? So yes, they're all like looking over Tarrare, bring him back in and going, yeah, it's interesting. The doctors then keep giving him weird stuff to eat. Lizards, snakes, actual puppies.
Oh, God.
Like little Timmy, I'm just going to need to borrow Patches here. Okay, Daddy, you'll bring him back. Sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, they just fucking give him stuff. Just see. Let's see what else he'll do. It's all well and good. Tarrare's happy.
Oh, he's happy. He's
He's
happy as
being
Larry.
fed. Everyone's having a nice time with experimenting. But the military end up sort of knocking at the door going, look, sorry, that man has signed up to the military. He needs to come back to the front line. That, there's no nonsense approach to it going, we need men. He can't, if he's well, he needs to serve his country. And they sort of negotiate back and forth, and other soldiers are like, we're fine, we don't want him to come back. Smelly flappy man can stay in the hospital. It's I just got a parrot. But Dr. Couvel, who has been treating Tarrare, has an idea. He has the General Bohanez. This is before General's head is cut off, because he's actually Josephine's first husband.
Nice.
Future wife of Napoleon's.
Okay.
He would die in the Reign of Terror, but that's just a really weird thing. But obviously he's commanding the Revolutionary Army at the time. The general listened to the doctor's ideas. Tarrare is able to eat anything with no side effects. Perhaps we can put this to some military use.
I'm struggling to think what.
The general's like, well, you want him to eat the enemy? It's like, no, God, why would you go to that? No, perhaps we can smuggle documents inside Tarrare.
Well, that's cunning.
And I think that's time for a drink.
Oh, yes, I'm intrigued.
Nick, we have our drinks.
We do.
Now we have a cunning plan.
We have some secret documents.
We have some secret documents.
In the stomach.
And we have a man who is willing to swallow any old stuff. So the doctor and the general decide to do an experiment. They're going to see if Tarrare can be used literally as a courier, as a spy.
That's a damn good thought.
Smuggling these documents. Allegedly, this happened. They put a piece of paper with some words on it. They write some word, hello, and everything, into a small wooden box. And they give it to Tarrare, straight down.
Right.
And then they wait for nature to take its course. And it does. And the box and the message inside it survives its ordeal through
It emerges.
his innards. I'm not sure the person who had to go and get the box survived that ordeal.
Yeah.
They've seen terrible things.
Yes.
Right. But they open the box and the piece of paper's still
There is
inside,
the
and it's
message.
legible. And they're like, okay, great. So this
This
guy,
works.
brilliant. It's a success. The general is apparently so impressed, he calls Tarrare before an assembly of the commanders of the Army of the Rhine. And in front of them, he is given more boxes to swallow without any ill side effects. And as his prize for his efforts, the general then, or his staff, wheel out a wheelbarrow full of bulls, lungs, and livers,
Oh, no. Oh.
which Tarrare just yums up.
So with a nice steak.
Well, it's just awful. It's just,
Yeah.
like people would eat them, but yeah, just, oh, there we go. Here's a wheelbarrow full of food.
Here's the bits that no one else wants.
Yeah, I like to imagine that the general did not brief the commanders about what was happening, and they're just standing there going, "Why? This man is eating boxes and just a wheelbarrow full of meat." Like, oh, sorry, right, he's a spy now. They're like, "Oh, okay, right, we're on board." So Tarrare, after this demonstration, it gets the approval of the commanders and is gussied up as a Prussian peasant. So they're in the
Right.
war against Prussia.
So one cannot really control as to when the message reveals itself.
I had the same question. Yes, as in this is a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, so
It's
But
not the most elegant of plans.
it's not the most. I mean, not the most elegant of plans, but yeah, surely, you arrive somewhere. I got this really important message for you. Yeah, it's coming.
Or he's running, holding his buttocks and shit.
Exactly. Too soon. So, yeah.
Yeah, you've spotted the problems with this plan,
Yeah.
and you'd be right to.
Okay, good.
So he's given instructions as dressed up as this Prussian peasant. It's like instructions of where to go. Given another box, important messages, swallowed down, lovely, to be delivered to French spies across enemy lines. He must seek out this a colonel who's been imprisoned or is being held captive. He would be able to get access to him in what we now know as Germany, and give him the document. So he's got to go there, get the box out of himself, and then give it to the colonel. Hello.
Maybe wipe it off first.
Yes, like dinner first,
give it a
maybe. I don't
rinse.
know. Yeah, exactly. He's on the clock, and he's got to go and shit in front of a colonel now, who's going to be like, "Haven't I suffered enough?"
I think potentially he could just give the message to the colonel.
But then, if he was searched, that's the whole
Yes,
point.
but I don't think he's going to go and crap in front of the colonel. I think he can get to where the colonel is.
But what if he doesn't know? If he has to guarantee, in my head, he's got to guarantee that he can find the colonel. And
Yes.
he can't, excuse me, and then go round. He could go round the corner.
Well, exactly.
Hopefully.
So yes. So
What if he just gets
Alright,
there and
you're-
just starts shitting in front of
You're
him?
the colonel. Hello, nice to meet you, Mr. Colonel.
Mr. Colonel,
I'll be back in 2 minutes. Here's
trust
your
me, it'll be worth it.
It'll be worth the wait. Here's your message. Do you have a towel? Rather than, hello, Mr. Colonel.
The Colonel's just crying.
The colonel, what are you doing?
I'll tell them everything. Please make this stop. Either way, Tarrare swallows the message. We'll see what happens because, he goes across enemy lines into Germany. I am a Prussian peasant. Walks along. He gets the equivalent of 5 minutes
Impressive.
into enemy country before all the Prussians turn around and go, well, we can smell you. That's one
That's true.
thing.
You thought you would hose him down first.
Probably did. Maybe covered him in perfume or whatever. But they just turn around and go, okay, well, this saggy-skinned man is clearly dressed as a peasant, looks weird, and he's probably eating a handful of snakes as well. So they go up and go, Guten Abend, and he goes, bonjour, and they're like, well, you're fucking French. Instantly spotted. You can't speak German. So, I think we're going to arrest you.
Yeah, problematic.
Problematic. He is captured and he is subjected to a round of stripping and whipping, stripped down to find his messages.
Yeah.
They find nothing.
Of
They
which there
find
is none.
nothing. And Tarrare holds his tongue. He's like, I have nothing. I have nothing here. I'm not telling you anything. He is whipped. He is beaten to give up any information. This is hours that he's subjected to. And he ends up in a cell and in their captivity for about 24 hours. How much of that time was subjected to torture, we don't know. How much of that time was just him in isolation. But 24 hours passes and Tarrare cracks. And it's possible he was just that hungry.
Well, yes.
I mean, given that he can't take it
can't
anymore.
take it,
Or
yeah.
he is, he could have been subjected to horrific torture. He was very stoic as much as he could be. And he tells them everything. And he says, I am a spy. Where are your papers? You're going to love this. He is chained to a latrine for 30 hours. Which is horrible. And they wait for the box to pass. Humiliating, horrible experience
Yeah.
and everything. And the box drops
Yeah.
and they open it up. And like, right, the Prussians are delighted. We have the
All
French
these
documents
secret
of
messages.
war. We know what they are trying to do. We shall open it up. Ew, oh God, this is horrible. This is horrible. But here it is, the document. And they open it up and it reads the equivalent of, Dear Colonel, please acknowledge receipt of this message. We just want to see if this worked.
Oh dear.
Of course, the general is not going to trust on the first go Tarrare and the secrets of the French military to this man. It's basically going, okay, Colonel, if this got here, just send me a message back. And
Yeah.
if you've got any information, send it back, because clearly this has worked. But it hasn't.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The Prussian general, outraged, furious, orders Tarrare to be hung. Tarrare is dragged to the gallows. The noose is put round his neck. And Tarrare is sobbing. Sobbing, broken-hearted. This is not the tears, it seems, of a cowardly man. He has done everything he can, and he has just been put in this situation, and he is
Yeah.
bawling his heart out. And the general relents,
Okay.
apparently. He takes pity on this poor creature for some reason. He takes the noose off. He's given a sound kicking, and then dumped near the French lines.
Okay.
So he's able to cross back into France. He escapes
Surprisingly generous.
near death. Yeah, exactly. This is the tale. Some sources state, this is from one of the reports I had, that the general never retrieved the box, as Tarrare had the presence of mind to to recover and eat the stool containing it before it could be sieged by the Prussians. That's just a circular argument, I feel.
Yes.
That's that version. They were like, well, we don't want to wait this out anymore. Let's just please leave. Back home in France, poor Tarrare, he goes back to the army. He gets back, and he's horrible experience. He says, I don't want to do this. Please, I don't want to be a spy. I don't want to be in the army. And he begs Dr. Percy at the hospital where he was treated, said, please take me back and help me. Please find a reason why this is happening. Cure me. Make me normal. And it's really, really sad. He's wretched and exhausted, and he just wants to be better. And Percy agrees. And he will do everything he can to try and find out what causes this insatiable hunger in Tarrare. And it's going to be impossible, really, given that they can't know and their experience is so limited and it's such a freak occurrence. They try to determine what will satiate him and what will quell his appetite. He is pummeled full of vinegar, tobacco pills, huge numbers of soft-boiled eggs. Very cool hand Luke energy there. And buckets of laudanum. Even the laudanum does not put him down.
Dear.
Nothing does the trick. Unable to stand the small portions he was given as part of his treatment, he would break out of the hospital at night to rummage in the bins and the rubbish. But he would also go into the nearby town and hunt around outside the local butcher's shop for offal and even blood and viscera. And he was apparently he would fight the stray dogs in the street for his share. As time wore on, Tarrare's actions become even more worrying. In the hospital, he resorts to drinking the blood that's been removed from the patients. Christ. So in the days of bloodletting, he would get access to them and drink that. He'd begun to creep down to the morgue and nibble on the corpses there. But the final straw comes in Tarrare's story and for Dr. Percy and everyone around him, where in the hospital, a baby goes missing. A 14-month-old baby has been in the hospital and disappears without a trace. No one knows. There is no hard evidence.
but they have their suspicions.
All fingers point to Tarrare, who has become increasingly unhinged in his hunger. He has access to things around him. Has he developed a taste for human flesh? And has he committed the ultimate crime? Dr. Percy, at this point, can no longer help. Tarrare can no longer support him. Tarrare is chased from the hospital by the staff, by the patients. Yeah. Allegedly, he has run out of the building and Dr. Percy says, I cannot help you. This is it. And Tarrare disappears into the wilderness. Yeesh. Everyone moves on and tries to forget this bizarre, creepy, strange man. 4 years later, 1798, Dr. Percy receives word from a hospital in Versailles, and there is a patient there close to death. A man who was remarkable as he was able to eat literally anything. Percy travels to the bedside of Tarrare, and he is dying. He tells Percy that he swallowed a golden fork 2 years earlier, and he was pretty sure that was the thing that was causing him so much trouble. Dr. Percy's like, sure, I saw you eat a gun on the way in, but never mind. Tarrare hoped his doctor friend would be able to find the golden fork and find out what was wrong with him. Tarrare was actually suffering from TB, from tuberculosis. Percy was able to diagnose that immediately. Yeah. So actually it wasn't stuff in his stomach.
No, it wasn't the fork.
That wasn't killing it. It was TB. And he died a short while later, experiencing explosive diarrhea.
Oh, God.
It's like, really? Unsurprisingly, there was an autopsy.
Yes, I'm sure there was.
Have a drink.
God, I dread to think what they found.
So it was fascinating to them because then they were like, we need to find out what this man was about. And again, skinny man still, but with all this stuff. His body was already starting to rot when they began. Most doctors in the hospital were like, fuck that. Yes. Percy and a couple of other brave souls persevered. When he was laid out, the gases, the vape, tenfold by the time he's dead. So you have to mention hazmat suits or whatever they could manage at the time. They're going in there. This is so bad it will make the doctors quit midway through. They are fighting through the stench. And it is said, and I will describe what's happened here. Good. Here we go, people. The entrails were putrefied, confounded together and immersed in pus. The liver was excessively large, and this is the interesting part, void of consistence and in a putrefying state. The gallbladder was of considerable magnitude. The stomach in a lax state, having ulcerated patches dispersed about it, covered almost the whole of the abdominal region. This is incredible. Yeah. The stomach is that large. The gullet was seen incredibly wide. The jaws indeed could open so wide that the doctors, when they opened his mouth, they could look down the gullet and they could see the stomach. This is what they were dealing with. The jaw, a cylinder of a foot in circumference, could be introduced without touching the palate.
Wow.
There was no fork. They did not find a fork.
The fork had gone.
That was as much as they got out of the autopsy, because the corpse was so disgusting, they quit. They couldn't take it anymore. What had caused his incredible need for food and his compulsion to eat mad things, they could not conclusively determine, though the size of his stomach, the size of his gullet, obviously there were abnormalities there.
Yeah.
It made people feel like Tarrare's compulsion to eat was from a genuine hunger rather than a mental condition.
Yes.
People have
his body was so sort of, was he designed to do that? If his jaws were so massive and things, and
the stomach was
so big, then it was obviously he was genetically or biologically geared up to do that.
Yeah, more biological. It can never be as black and white as that, because people have argued back and forth. Was he suffering from polyphagia, which is incessant hunger, which is usually caused by an underlying medical disorder. So that can be hypothyroidism, that can be diabetes, it can be all sorts of things like can cause this incessant hunger. Others have said that it was a type of brain damage, that the area, harking back to last week or the week before, where we've talked about brain damage.
The bumps of hunger.
The bumps were knocked badly, but a portion of the brain that that has control and decision making was knocked or damaged in some way. People have also said, did he have an eating disorder like pica? Which was it a mental thing as well as a biological thing that compelled him to eat bizarre stuff, as well as trying to quell this incessant hunger? We will never know, but Tarrare's name is now legend and still feared in restaurants and pet rescue centres across Europe today. And that is the mad, mad story of Tarrare.
That is a mad, mad story.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, he is linked with a crime, a big one, and that's sort of the title that's given to him is the baby eater.
The baby eater.
Baby eater.
I knew the story. I didn't know the name. Yes, I have heard that story. But yeah, I mean, that's terrifying. Yeah,
there's a lot. I mean, which I won't actually delve into now. There's a whole catalogue of crazy eaters through history. Some very famous ones, but Tarrare was different because it did seem to be biological mixed with psychological compulsion to eat. There's a whole period of history of just gambling about who can eat what.
Yeah.
And people ate a lot of cats. I'm not kidding.
Well, there were a lot of them around.
People just were eating cats. People would just, I bet you 2 guineas I can eat this cat. And they did it. The Duke of Bedford in 1788 bid 1,000 guineas to Lord Barrymore that he couldn't eat a cat. And then they had a big fight over who was owed what, because Lord Barrymore welched on the bet. And then he went off and said, no, I'll find someone who'll eat a cat. Because everyone was eating cats. Loads. There was a man from Windsor. They was called the Man Monster because he just ate a cat in the street in front of people.
That's fairly monstrous.
Yes. He then went into his local pub. This was 1790. Went into his local pub, cut off his own hand and said, right, the parish needs to look after me because I'm now disabled.
Oh, God.
And they were like, you ate our cat. So that's disturbing. There's a lot of other stories which are more competitive eating, and it's cruel in that. Yeah. Really nasty stuff where they just think,
yeah, that's doing it for cash or money. That's not a compulsion. That's just I need to get some money out of this.
Yeah. There's other ones, like there's Nicholas Wood, who was from Kent. He had a massive appetite, but he was kind of exploited more by a writer, a poet, who apparently sort of like, oh, come to London, I'm going to put you on stage and you're just going to eat everything. And he advertised it, and the man actually ran away in the end.
God.
He was like, I don't want to do this. This is horrible. I'm just hungry. So yeah, there's lots of crazy eating stories across the centuries where people are doing it for financial gain, and modern stories of people who genuinely did want to eat stuff in the 20th century as well, who made a career out of it, but they were like, no, I actually do want to eat this. But Tarrare is one of the most famous.
Yeah, indeed.
And the most disgusting.
And the most grim.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Very much so. I don't want any snacks anymore.
I know, we bought all these snacks, and now there's images that you won't leave your head. But when you're hungry,
yeah, it's not good.
What's the craziest thing you've ever eaten when you're hungry?
I don't think I've eaten anything that crazy.
I've just eaten butter, just a bit of butter from the packet.
I don't think I've ever just eaten a stick of butter.
Not a stick of butter.
Or even just like a spoon of butter.
A little cube of butter. I've had that.
No.
I was like, I can't be asked to make toast. I'll just have a bit of butter.
No, I've always managed to make toast if I need to.
You will make toast,
I will
though.
make
yeah,
toast.
yeah.
I
But
will
I'm
make
always like,
toast.
oh no, carbs. You know what would be better? This bit of butter.
I'm sure that is better.
You know, the old ketchup and tomato ketchup and mayonnaise sandwiches I used to have. I used to have those in uni when you were poor. You're like, this is a sustenance.
Just have
It's
toast.
the same.
Have toast.
We didn't have a toaster. We were poor. All I had was my house in France at the summer holidays. Well, what do you think, people? What do you think of the story of Tarrare? I hope I've been pronouncing his name properly. It is sort of contested, and hopefully that's right. But what do you think of the story? And I'm so sorry if you are sensitive of nature, but we did warn you. A man who was compelled to eat everything, did eat some very upsetting things, but also could he help it? Do you think this is a purely biological thing? Do you think it's psychological? People may want to weigh in with their thoughts and the things that they've read. There's lots of opinions about it. Tell us what you think. Jump on the comments of this episode, share your thoughts, your feelings, your theories, but most importantly, you must mix up a baby on a spike.
Baby on a spike.
Babies on spikes.
Babies on spikes. No, well, that went down a treat.
Absolutely delicious.
Very nice indeed. Yeah, so the recipe will be out this evening. So yeah, mix it up if you can. Yeah, let us know what you think.
It's a delight.
It's a delight.
If you can, please do tag us in pictures you are enjoying of cocktails. So if you're posting pictures on Instagram in particular, tag us. We'll try and reshare them, and you can send us DMs and we'll do that. Send us suggestions of cocktails we can cover in the future and stories we can be covering of crazy crimes or crazy people from across the centuries. We'd love to do it. If you can, please join us on Patreon and leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks for listening, guys. We have been the people inside the poisonous cabinet. We will see you next week. And remember, your loved ones are trying to kill you.